Well, it's the same day. I got the beams out from under the cab. Almost crushed my hand at one point. Glad I didn't get that on video. Got it on these stands that I built to get the utility bed onto the F350, and pretty happy with it. Height-wise, pretty close. I think it actually, height-wise, needs to come down a bit. But the other issue is, right now, from the face of the core support to here is 59 inches. And the fender comes right back to here. But the fender itself is 53 and a half from there to there. I'm going to put the fender in place just to double check. And I had a feeling I was going to need to modify the firewall. And I actually kept the firewall from the 99 F250. So I think and I thought ahead, what I was going to have to do is cut out the 68 firewall and graft in the 99 firewall. There's a couple benefits to that. Number one, it'll give me the extra room I need. And number two, the fuel pedal, the accelerator pedal mounts are already in the piece of firewall that I kept. So I won't have to reinvent the wheel there. The other stuff I may have to fiddle with, like the brakes and the clutch and stuff, or the brake pedal and the clutch pedal and stuff like that. But so for now, I'm happy. It's in place. It's closer than it was. I'm going to put the fender in place just to see, and just to make sure that I'm right, that I'm off a little bit, and we'll go from there. So far, it's not looking too bad. Let me see. Not looking too bad for the shifter. So the shifter's coming up right here, and I'm going to need to go forward, what did I say, 59 to 53. That's like 5.5 inches. If I go 5.5 inches, the shifter will be back a little further than I would have liked, but is what it is. With the shifter, the original shifter was a solid piece of steel, and it had a kind of a keyway on the end of it that goes to that. So there's two bolts that went through this piece into the keyway on the shifter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that keyway off, and I'm going to weld it to the old school shifter. And the old school shifter is, I think, 5/8 round steel. So if I need to, I can get a torch and I can heat that up and bend it to make it a little more user-friendly than it would be if it's back further than I originally had hoped. One nice thing about this build, I'm going to have two bucket seats. I'm not going to have a bench seat. A lot of times what you run into is the shifter will run into the bench seat because the bench seat goes across that area. I'm not going to have that bench there. So that's something I'll have to play with later. The other thing I didn't mention before, and it doesn't matter right now, but this cab is in such nice shape. Originally, the F350 cab had a hole cut in the back. I can show you. I don't know if you can see. You see that? See the hole in the back? So here on the camper, there's a hole, and those two correspond. So you could go from the cab to the camper if you wanted to. That's if you have somebody traveling with you. If you're driving, there's no way for you to go into the camper while you're driving. So there's no reason to have a pass-through unless I was going to have a passenger with me, but I don't plan on having a passenger with me. And I'm not a big fan of having people in the camper while I'm driving anyway. And this cab is in such nice shape, I don't want to cut the back wall to make that access. The other issue I'm thinking I'm going to have is before, the level of the camper and the level of the cab were only off by a few inches. I think 3 inches. On this setup, because of the way I'm building the camper and where this cab needs to sit, I think it's going to be too far off. So it would be a big step, and I don't want that anyway. So if I don't have the pass-through, it makes it easier to keep the camper heated and cooled and quiet. and I don't have to cut up the cab. So that's my plan. I'm not going to cut the cab. I could change my mind in the future. Don't think I'm going to, but if I wanted to if I really wanted to in the future, I could cut the cab and the camper and then have that pass through. But for now, I'm not going to do that. So again, thanks for being here, and keep on building.